More. He was national security advisor for in the first Trump administration before their falling out. John Bolton joins us from Washington, D.C. Thank you for speaking with us here on France 24.
Thanks for having me.
First of all, your reaction to this first court date by Nicolas Maduro.
Well, I don't think there was anything particularly unexpected. Obviously, he was going to plead not guilty, and that's typically all that happens at these opening arraignments. So nothing new there. But I think this is focusing attention really on only part of what is really necessary in Venezuela. I think Trump, by extracting Maduro, took out the visible face of the regime, but the regime is still there. This is not regime change as long as everybody else is still running Venezuela.
Donald Trump saying, I'm in charge. Let's listen to a clip of him. This was on Air Force One coming back to Washington on Sunday night, and he was asked, does that mean that the United States is now in the business of regime change? Let's listen. So, John Bolton, we hear in that clip, it's about the oil. He doesn't say the word democracy. Your thoughts?
Well, this is something that Trump demonstrates. He really is still confused in his own mind what the rationale for the military action on Saturday was. It started out about drugs, then it became about terrorism, then it was illegal immigration, now it's about oil, now he's threatening the government of Colombia. This is all mouth. It's braggadocio, and unfortunately, I think this approach is very harmful to the United States. But it doesn't change the facts. It's just Trump trying to make more out of this than, in fact, it really is.
If you're China or Russia right now, what are you really thinking about this operation?
Well, what they should really think about is how successful the U.S. military was. It was really almost on a par, I think, with getting Osama bin Laden in Pakistan. And really should tell people in countries like Iran that we do have this capability. I'm sure that Russia and China will try and use this as a precedent in places like Ukraine for Russia and Taiwan for China. It's not a precedent at all. I think the situations are remarkably different. But I also think I'd come back to the military point. They will be amazed at how effective this operation was.
The operation was effective, but again, it's the question of what comes next. When Donald Trump says that we're in charge, can they do it without putting boots on the ground?
Yeah, this is fantasy coming from Trump. You know, I yearn for the day when people realize that a lot of what he says, he's just saying because, as one wise person once said to me, he has no filter between his brain and his mouth. I don't know what he thinks running Venezuela means. Secretary of State Marco Rubio spent most of the Sunday talk shows in the U.S. Basically explaining we weren't going to be running Venezuela, that we'd be trying to affect policy. Really the cruel irony here is that Trump, having removed Maduro, seems much more comfortable talking to his authoritarian colleagues in Venezuela than the Democratic opposition led by María Corina Machado, whom yesterday Trump basically threw under the bus.
And is this operation a green light to Vladimir Putin to keep on going in Ukraine?
Well, I'm sure that the Kremlin will try and make it into that, but it's really the circumstances are very different. Here, Maduro is in power because he stole the 2024 election. By the way, he stole the 2018 election as well, which is why we tried to overthrow him in 2019. We have the consent, the support of the legitimate government, the people who won the election in 2024. Obviously, Putin has no consent at all from Ukraine or the actual government of Ukraine, nor does China have the consent of the government of Taiwan.
You mentioned the Secretary of State doing the rounds on the Sunday talk shows in the United States. Is this Marco Rubio's operation, or is it the National Security Advisor Stephen Miller's operation?
Well, Miller's not National Security Advisor. He's Deputy Chief of Staff. I really think this is Rubio. Yeah, I think this is Rubio. I give him great credit, but I think he also knows he has failed when we still have the regime in place. You can take out the leading person, but unless you take out the rest of the regime, little would change. I mean, I had personal experience with Maduro when I was UN ambassador. He was foreign minister. He wasn't the brightest bulb on the tree back then. And I think others held a considerable part of the power even as he was president. But right now, the idea that his removal alone gives the U.S. control over Venezuela is simply not true.
What about this threat against Greenland? And it comes, Greenland, which is a Danish dependency, Denmark, a member of NATO. We have a crucial meeting in Paris coming up of the Friends of Ukraine, the coalition of the willing there, if you will. How should NATO allies react?
Well, I think they should remember Trump's art of the deal, which is make the most outrageous demand you can think of. Shock your negotiating partners, and then if you get 20% of what you asked for, you're surprised at how well you did. Look, I think this kind of talk is damaging to the United States. I think it's weakening NATO. I think the Danish Prime Minister said earlier today that if Trump did invade Greenland, it would be the end of NATO. I think she's right about that. I think that would be a terrible catastrophe for the United States. And really, it's that kind of bluster, into my mind, that shows why Trump is really not fit to be president.
One final question. Which United States do you prefer? The one with these sort of spheres of influence that's being talked about, where China has dominance over Asia, the U.S. has dominance over the Americas, and Russia has more of a say in its own backyard, or the international order as it's been since World War II, with the U.S. interested in the whole planet?
Well, I would prefer the second, although I wouldn't describe it the way you've done. I don't think there is an international order. I think it's been the United States presence, its military capabilities, and its structure of alliances that has provided whatever minimal international stability there is. I don't think Trump has the slightest idea what that means.
John Bolton, so many thanks for joining us from Washington.